Shocking news arrives from the world of FIA as Ben Sulayem dropped a bombshell regarding the sacred rule of the sport, the budget cap. The current president of the FIA feels like there is absolutely no need for this financial limit to exist because all it does is create headaches for all parties involved, including the FIA. But if we return to the world of open checks and spending as much as you want, are we actually going to see improved racing? And more importantly, is this a move made out of desperation in order to keep his seat alive? There is no doubt about it, Ben Sulayem found himself in a very tight situation with the FIA. As all things stand, the former Emirati racer will face a lot of competition for his role as president of the sport, which is why he's focused on making moves that could win back the affection of the drivers and the high-profile motorsport leaders. It could, though, be a tad too late, but it's better trying now than not trying at all. And one of the latest proposals from Ben Sulayem revolves around the budget cap. According to him, the rule is creating a lot of headaches for the governing body and he's ready to scrap it if all of the sides agree to it. I bet that the teams will be very happy, especially the top performing ones, because they'll be able to write blank checks for every part that's being broken or needs a further boost. But we've seen that the budget cap has actually brought racing a lot closer when you have a certain limit to spend on developing your car. During the Miami GP, Ben Sulayem stated his worries that the ceiling of $140 million should be scrapped because it causes too many headaches for all sides involved. But what he needs to remember is that thanks to this budget cap, the F1 teams have started to become profitable businesses, which is precisely what brought the sponsors to come in a huge way. This is not impressing Ben Sulayem at all, and when talking about it to a greater extent, he went on to say, "I am looking at the cost cap and it's just giving the FIA a headache. So what is the point of it? I don't see the point. I really don't." This claim, however, was made in a very different aspect, the protest of Red Bull regarding the legality of McLaren's car. Christian Horner has been waddling around and talking about all types of negative stuff regarding the MCL39, such as the water cooling of their tyres. Pirelli dubbed this to be an impossible mission to achieve because, according to them, it's impossible to push water through the valve. But nevertheless, Ben Sulayem supported the take of Zach Brown. If a team lodges a protest, the sum that this protest would take should be deducted from the cost cap pot and returned only if the claims were found to be true. Be that as it may, Ben Sulayem is now in a very difficult position and statements like this are coming in a very difficult period of time for him. He's facing a lot of competition for his position. Carlos Sainz Sr, the father of the Williams driver, feels like he's in a great position to compete because of all the knowledge he's gathered in the sport and because he knows the fragility of the FIA right now. When talking about why he feels he has a good shot of making it as president of the FIA, Sainz went on to say, "This possibility has been in my mind for some time now, not very deeply, but now I think it could be the right time in my career for me to take the step. I am confident I can do a good job and put together an excellent team to give back to the sport part of what it has given me. I have accumulated a lot of experience in this sport throughout the years, and I'm certain I can bring new and interesting things to strengthen and develop the sport and the automobile world." Furthermore, it has been brought to attention that the presence of Carlos Sainz Jr. might hinder the chances of his father becoming president of the FIA, but this has been denied quickly by the senior figure, who went on to add, "I have my track record and people know me well enough to understand that my son being in Formula One will not be an issue. Obviously, I will have to step down regarding my role with Carlos and his career, but this is not an issue at all. He is not a child anymore. He has been in F1 for a decade now, and we both know that if I go ahead with this project, our relationship will change. Of course, the FIA is a very serious entity and there will be no conflict." The situation is definitely creating a lot of pressure on Ben Sulayem because he knows very well that things can get out of control very quickly. This is probably why he pursued changes to Appendix B thanks to the constructive feedback that arrived to him from the F1 drivers. But this feedback has been spoken about for a couple of months, and it is only now, when his seat is in danger, that he is starting to acknowledge that maybe something is wrong with the rules he's bringing. Elaborating further on this matter, Ben Sulayem has gone on to say, Following constructive feedback from drivers across our 7 FIA World Championships, I am considering making improvements to Appendix B. As a former rally driver, I understand the demands they face better than most. Appendix B is a key part of the International Sporting Code and is central in helping keep the sport accessible for our sporting family. Humans make the rules and humans can improve the rules. This principle of continuous improvement is something I've always believed in and is at the heart of all we do at the FIA. What needs to be added here is that drivers already have their reservations against Ben Sulayem, and statements like this might not improve the situation at all. One of the most notorious haters of the former Emirati racer is Lewis Hamilton, and for all the right reasons. In 2022, the jewellery ban created a ton of controversy, and the 7-time world champion joined the Miami GP with all of the jewellery he possessed. And with the unbased investigation that was launched on Susie Wolff, it was obviously too much to process for Lewis, who then went on to say that he had never had any respect for the FIA's president whatsoever. Elaborating more on this, Hamilton said, "Ultimately, we don't hold a power seat at the table, and that needs to change, in my opinion. People making decisions for others that have never been in that position. It's good to have the point of view from the driver's perspective, and that's all we try to give." On the other hand, George Russell holds an even more powerful position in his take. He's the director of the GPDA. What this goes to show is that there have been tons of promises left, right and centre, and none of them were brought to fruition. And until they see it happening, they will keep their reserves regarding this matter. Furthermore, Russell added, "We want to see these things put into action rather than saying we're considering things. We all consider a lot of things. We are clear we want changes. So it's just the fact that the words don't mean anything until the change is being made." All in all, the situation doesn't bode well for Ben Sulayem, because the reasons behind the pressure he's feeling are backed up by former high-profile members of the FIA. Robert Reid was the deputy president of the sport, and his departure created a lot of fuss in the Formula One world. And according to Reid himself, he believed that there was a fundamental breakdown in governance standards within the inner circles of the FIA. On the other hand, Natalie Robin, a former FIA Chief Executive Officer, has finally broken down on the silence that she's been keeping for 18 months, stating that the governing body had serious ongoing structural challenges and professional processes are not adhered to and stakeholders are excluded from decision making. This is something that needs to be changed sooner rather than later, because apart from these two former high-profile FIA figures, we need to take into consideration the statement from Tim Mayer, a former race director. According to him, Ben Sulayem had no intention of reviewing other aspects when it came to implementing the swearing penalties, and he wanted to make an example out of the drivers without consulting with other members of the governing body. Elaborating on this matter to a greater extent, Mayer said, Ben Sulayem's view was that the drivers need to be penalised for swearing. That is his view, and what has happened since reflects that. There are times when he has directly involved himself in making his views known, not with the stewards directly, but via his staff. Part of the job of the stewards is to enforce the FIA's policy on the rules. Technically, bad language is outlawed, so it's not unfair. Whether it's sensible we should be chasing drivers for rather mild swearing is another matter. With all this in mind, the removal of the budget cap is the least of the worries that Ben Sulayem needs to have on his mind right now. He needs to be assuring the board members that he is still one of the favourites to continue with the leadership of the FIA. But with the increasing pressure from members like Sainz Sr, are we going to see a massive change in the landscape of the sport? And more importantly, will it be a positive one, considering all the backing that Sainz has from the veteran members in the motorsport world? Let us know in the comments below what you think. And once you've done that, have a look at the video that's appearing on your screen right now.